49ers rookies, the injury report, and a little dive into the depth chart. You are now tuned into 49ers Uncovered. What's going on, everyone? My name is Mase. You can find me on Twitter at CaliKing49er17. My co-host is Chris. Chris, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, Mase. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm ready to dive into this camp, talk about little injuries, kind of news going on, long off season. It seems like every year it gets a little bit longer. Like there's a lot more events that go on in the year. You got the draft and a lot of other stuff that's televised. You know, we even got early stuff on ABC for training camp and stuff this weekend. We got football in less than a week. It is preseason, but I'm ready for it. They're putting pads on. Let's get into it. Starting off with the rookies, we'll just hit both of the rookie wide receivers at one time. First off, we'll talk about Ricky Pearsall out of Florida. Had that phenomenal one-handed catch. Dude's got nice speed. Not amazing up against press. A lot of his, catches in college were uncontested. But what are your kind of thoughts on Ricky Pearsall, and where do you think he fits in this offense?
I think he's good. I think he's got good hands. He's not afraid to lay out for a ball. I can tell you that. So that's good. He's a good route runner.
He's got those kind of like basic tools that I guess Kyle Shanahan would be looking for in a guy, especially a guy you're going to draft in the first round. He did go before Ladd McConkey. I guess when you kind of look at our offense, it makes sense and where we would put him. Ladd McConkey's more of a slot guy. We got Cowie to do that, I guess. We'll talk about him in a second. We also have Juwan Jennings. You can put Debo in the slot. You can put Debo pretty much anywhere. But I guess Pearsall is kind of just like a security blanket for what if with the Ayuk situation, which we will talk about in a minute. And also we had 11 punt returns, I believe it was, last year at Florida too. And that's something that the Niners have kind of been looking for. They do have Ronnie Bell, brought in Trent Taylor, but it's always nice to kind of have a bunch there and kind of see what sifts through the sand. Cowan as well was a returner. Arizona, good route runner. 5 years in college, last 3 years, over 100 targets. Do you think he sees any time this year, or do you think that's more of like a kind of wait and see what happens going to next year?
I honestly think it's going to be more of a wait and see. But if he proves himself, he could get on the field.
Yeah, well, we've seen Kyle Shanahan before with Brandon Ayuk in the beginning of his career. He kind of sat him for a little while. Not a little while, just a couple weeks, but just kind of gave him that treatment. So no one – anyone has to fade when it comes to Coach Shanahan ride the bench, right?
Yeah. He is on the small side, 168 pounds. But
you get him in an NFL weight room, maybe.
What's that?
So you get him in an NFL weight room, like you said, wait a year. Hopefully there's no injuries, but if there is, a guy that maybe you can plug and play in the slot, like we said. We've got Deebo Samuel, the Yak King, so maybe he could be Yak King Jr.
He had good production in college.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're looking for. Arguably the best route runner in the draft, and got him a great value, I think, in the fourth round. So 136 overall, actually. So that's good stuff there. Anything else you want to add about the two wide receivers?
I think that's about it.
Okay, so we'll move on to the offensive lineman, Dominic Pooney, 87th overall selection where is he at? Kansas, right? Yeah, 0 sacks allowed. In his 2 seasons there, he's very versatile. He actually might get a shot at the starting job because of an injury, which we'll talk about in a minute. What do you think about Pooney?
I like him. He's very versatile. He can slide into left tackle, left guard, right tackle.
Yeah.
So he's very versatile. I like it. Yeah,
for sure. I thought we would kind of put him at tackle. Trent Williams, we got him, or at least hopefully we will if he, we'll talk about it in a second as well. I guess we got a lot to talk about. But that versatility is nice. We'll see if he can get running at that guard position. We saw in the Super Bowl we kind of had some problems at guard, some injuries down the stretch. So obviously the Niners wanted to add some depth to the overall line position. Kyle Shanahan loves versatile guys, whether it's skill position or otherwise, in the safety position. Also the Niners drafted Jarrett Kingston. He was at Washington State for 4 years, then transferred to UFC. He had 4 sacks last season allowed, 3 as a tackle and 1 as a guard. He'll probably slide into guard if he does slide in anywhere, but also a guy that could play tackle as well. What do you think about Kingston?
I like him. I think he is a guy that's going to take some time to get in there. You know, he's not gonna get a ton of playing time right away, in my opinion. But he could get in there at some point.
Yeah, if he gets in early, obviously he'll probably get a lot of reps during preseason, things like that. But if he gets in, then we're probably in trouble, right? We're probably going to be looking out and trying to reach out to other players that are a free agency or what have you, whatnot. But a really nice depth piece. He's been up there. He was on the line for Caleb Williams. We saw watching tape on him. He does a lot of razzle dazzle stuff if he doesn't get his first two reads. So Brock Purdy has that extended playability. So to have a guy on the line that's kind of used to, if the play breaks down, being able to contain and be good and protect the quarterback, it's kind of what you're looking for. So to get a guy like that as a depth piece and just kind of let him learn in front of the guys in front of him, especially when you got a guy like Trent Williams who has 1, 2, 3 years left. We don't really know. If the Niners win the Super Bowl, he might run off in the sunset. So nice to see the Niners stacking wide receiver, which we already have, right? And then also stacking the line, which was something that they really desperately needed. So you got any other thoughts on the pair of tackle/guard guys?
No, I think we pretty much covered it on that one.
All right, man, for sure. Going to the running back position, Isaac Guerendo, 130th draft selection, 4th round. He only played running back not even fully, for like 2 seasons. He like 70-something carries in 2022, 100-something in 2023. Not great at pass blocking. He's a true athlete, blazing speed. What do you think about Guerendo?
I like him. He ran a 4.33, 40-yard dash. Not bad. He did suffer a Liz Frank injury, which that was in 2021, so might not come into play.
Yeah.
He can return kicks if they need him to.
Right. And that's the thing, is that he still needs time to develop, I guess, just be able to like read the keys of the offense and things like that. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's offense in general is one of the most complicated, if not the most complicated offense in the league. So for him to be learning the position and also be learning that probably a lot. He's also dealing with a hamstring injury right now, so that's not really good. You talked about the previous injury kind of go. So the Niners are pretty stacked at running back right now. So I think he'll have time to go back. You might be one of those guys that kind of gets practice squad, comes back up, practice squad comes back up if he does make the roster. Hopefully he does. It's 4th round pick. But we know that the 49ers go through backup running backs like underwear, right? If Kyle Shanahan drafts you in the 3rd or 4th, 5th round, he don't like you, you can be gone, i.e. Trey Sermon. Yeah, for sure. Okay, moving on to, honestly, a camp favorite, a guy who looks like he was made in the lab, Malik Mustafa. Kyle Shanahan's really going for these safety guys who can play both deep and in the box as well. And looking at this guy and seeing him so far, you really got to like what you see from him. If Hufanga was not to come back anytime soon, then Mustafa could maybe slide in. We saw Jair Brown kind of had to wait a little while, but got on the field and was actually a really intricate part of that defense. Were you thinking the same for Mustafa? You think he's kind of a stash? What are your thoughts on him?
I think he'll probably get in there. He's flashed at training camp. There's been a lot of good talk around him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had 60 tackles in 2023. 5 tackles for a loss, 1 interception.
Yeah, you love those tackle for loss for sure. Especially with Hufanga, he could be coming back in a week or two. But to have Huff in a contract year, if he does show out, which we hope he does, I mean, he's a great player, kind of iffy in coverage at times, right? But if they can't re-sign Huff, then Mustafa has a job to step into, and Brown and those guys would be nuts going forward. Both extremely young, still learning as well. But that Niners defense, the front 7 is just absolutely nasty. So to have a pair of athletic guys on top of Hufanga in that secondary that can just go either way, it's really going to confuse a lot of offenses, I think. Good to see. Another secondary player in the 2nd round, they drafted Renardo Green, who plays bully ball, right? He's not undersized. He's not oversized. He's probably just the right size. But he's a really smart player, and he can play at multiple positions. What do you think about Renardo Green?
I like him. He's not going to let the big wide receivers bully him, that's for sure.
Yeah, dude.
2nd team All-CC in 2023. 43 tackles in 2023, 2.5 tackles for a loss, 1 interception.
Yeah. So he can kind of be sent, like we said. He might be playing the slot in this defense. We'll go over the depth chart in a minute. He went up against Malik Neighbors in week 1 last year and held him to, well, when he was guarding him, he only allowed 28 yards total. I don't think Neighbors had over, 67 yards that game. Also, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback was playing that game as well. Was week 1, might be working out the kinks and stuff, but watching Ronaldo Green on tape, you can definitely see why the Niners took him. And honestly, it was a prayer answered for a couple of years because the Niners have just been a rotating door at that CB2, CB3, CB4. We had guys like Mosley, other guys kind of turning, a lot of injuries before. We have one side anchored with Ward, so it's nice to see the Niners kind of going into the depths and stuff like that, right?
For sure.
Yep. Okay, and the last guy we'll talk about that's rookie, Tatum Bethune, who was Ronaldo Green's teammate at Florida State. He was drafted in the 7th round, 3rd all ACC team last year. He's got great reactions, but not as athletic as you'd like. KJ Britt loves him, quality control coach for defense, ex-Seahawk linebacker. Loving that guy. The thing is about Tatum is that when he's in his spot, he's not biting on a lot of things. He's not getting suckered into like that rookie stuff, you know what I mean? His first looks. He's really looking around and trying to figure out what that offense is doing before he bites, which is cool. I like that a lot. The Niners are stacked at linebacker. Do you think he sees any time, or do you think that's more of like a sit and wait as well, kind of like with Coretta?
Yeah, I think it's more of a sit and wait.
Yeah. He's got D. Winters, Ezekiel Turner, Jalen Graham, and Chris Robinson as well. I'm really high on Chris Robinson and D. Winters. Love those guys. Great special teams dudes as well. So just adding thickness to that room.
D. Winters is looking pretty good.
Dude. I mean, we also got Campbell too. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. We'll talk about those guys in a minute. We will move on over to the injuries. So we talked about Pooney possibly having an opportunity to start on the line, and that's because Spencer Burford, the right guard, has a broken hand. He's out for 3 weeks. That happened on Saturday, the 27th. I think it's still up for debate whether he's going to have surgery or not. So I think the Niners are going to probably hold off on him. He's going to miss a lot of preseason time. He did start as a rookie, so he's had that time. Obviously, they went deep in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, so he's got time there. It's just, I don't know. It's not really looking good as far as that for him because he was kind of not on shaky ground, but just after that Super Bowl, a lot of people were kind of just like, ugh, with him. I love him personally. I think he's a good player. I just think he needs a little bit more time. What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Ricky Pearsall also with the hamstring. We talked about that. Isaac Guerrero, hamstring, talked about that. Hufanga could be back in 2 weeks in the ACL. They're not going to force him back anytime soon. I don't really expect him to play a lot during the preseason, right? Okay. Also, Drake Greenlaw, going to talk about that in the Super Bowl. Heartbreaking. It wasn't even, it was on the field, but it wasn't during the play. It was in between a transition of special teams to the defense going on the field. Gut-wrenching, heartbreaking. He was having a monster game. Him and Warner are arguably the best tandem of linebackers in football, and I'm not just saying that because we're on 49ers Uncovered. They are actually really, really good together, man, right? So he could return as early as week 5, but Devondre Campbell was signed All-Pro 2 years ago from the Packers, getting good reviews in camp. He might not be as athletic or speedy as he was, but he's got that knowledge, and being next to Warner, he might not be as forced to take the reins in a game. He can kind of do what he needs to do, settle into that defense, learn his role, and be efficient. Drake Jackson on the PUP list as well. That guy just can't seem to get healthy. I thought he was going to break out last year. Didn't really work out. Niners got Floyd, added him to the line, added Gross Matos. So if he does get in, it'll be in rotation probably later on. But if he does return in week 2, he probably won't get that much time, right?
Yep, for sure.
All right. We'll move on to our next segment, drama in holdouts or hold-ins. We'll talk about the hold-in first. Brandon Ayuk, he's due $14 million in the last year of his rookie contract this year. He's seeking, anywhere from 28 to $30+ million. I'm not exactly sure what his number is. Top salary is Justin Jefferson in the league with $35 million a year, rightfully so. Dude is just sick with it, right? Deebo Samuel has 3 years left on his contract, $23.8 million. He also went through a contract dispute a couple years ago. What do you think about not only Brandon Ayuk holding in, but also do you think that it's okay for players to just go to practice and then refuse to practice just so they don't get fined a bunch of money?
I don't like it. Personally, I don't like it. I don't think it's right.
I mean, how do you answer your teammates, right? Like you got Debo, you got all the guys out there working, they're busting. I mean, obviously everyone knows Ayuk is nasty. He had the most targets last year. He'll probably, if he is on the Niners this year, he'll probably have the most targets again. Him and Brock Purdy had missed on a couple. It's just like little read stuff, like turning inside, turning outside, ball placement. But it just sucks because you would really hope that they could get that stuff kind of nipped in the bud, worked out at camp, so that during the season it's just like hopping, popping, and they could just have a really good year. I'm kind of with you there. I don't like the fact that he's going to practice just to kind of like save face and get the money, because it's evident that this is just about money. He's posting, stuff on his IG and he's in, I'm here. No, I'm not. Here's a picture of Jaden Daniels. Like, I don't know what.
I mean, what did you take from the pictures and videos of Ayuk standing there at training camp talking to John Lynch? Do you think that's a good sign?
It is. It's encouraging because he's there. He's talking, like he's part of it, and I think that's part of his notion. He's like, I'm here. I'm ready to go, baby. You just got to lock me up. And so with that happening, the Niners kind of lost. I know we've talked about this before. They lost their leverage a long time ago, and then kind of doubled down after the contracts of A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Jetta as well. And then drafting Pearsall is kind of like, what's the message that you're sending to Ayuk? So I don't know, moving on to another guy out of nowhere that kind of is actually holding out, right? Trent Williams, who is CMC is really good, but I'm going to say that Trent Williams is probably the guy that you want on the field the most. He's currently a $31 million cap hit this year, arguably the best tackle in the game, 89.9 PFF grade, second behind Penny Sewell. Both weeks that Williams missed last year, the Niners lost and only scored 17 points. They did that 3 times, and the only other time was when the Niners lost to the Browns, and my boy Jake Moody missed that field goal. I don't know. What do you think about Williams holding out?
Well, this one gives me a little more hope that he'll be on the field soon, because he's losing $50,000 a day.
Yeah, that is insane. But I think the Niners – I think they'd be ridiculous not to pay this guy. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They need to, man. Out of all the players on the Niners, and not anybody, obviously, I think he's the one they need on the field.
No, 100%, man, yeah. So we'll go ahead and switch it over to the depth chart portion. Start at quarterback. We kind of already know the deal there. Brock Purdy. Niners signed Joshua Dobbs. That's good. They also have Brandon Allen, and then they signed undrafted free agent Tanner Mordecai. You got anything on the quarterback room?
I think Purdy's poised for a good year. Josh Dobbs, God forbid anything happens, he can step in. He's efficient, as a backup.
Yeah, for sure. He showed last year that he could learn a multitude of offenses, and he could also do a lot of things with his legs, just kind of like off-balance stuff, just do whatever. But if he were to actually sit there and learn an offense, I think he could be an efficient secondary guy.
For sure.
Okay, running back, they got CMC. They've got Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell, drafted Isaac Guerrero. What do you think about the running back room? I've heard great things about Jordan Mason in camp.
For sure. I have too. And Eli Mitchell's been there for several years. They like him.
Yeah. He just got to stay healthy, right?
Yep. He's got to stay healthy, though, and that's been the problem.
Yeah. That's a good sign, though, for Jordan Mason to CMC said he's like a complete back now. So I guess that's kind of nice to see that maybe if the injuries happen to Elijah Mitchell again, then, Jordan Mason kind of step up. Guerendo's injured right now, so he's not going to get a lot of time, nor that I think he was going to this year, as we talked about previously. Kyle Juszczyk, fullback. Dude's nuts. Nasty. Took a pay cut for the team. Like, can't praise that guy enough. Yeah, right? Every time, like, you go to a Niner game, you hear everyone, Juice. Dude, it's so sick. Okay. We'll go to wide receiver. Stacked wide receiver. Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings. All 3 of those guys are fantastic. Juwan Jennings, third and Juwan, right? He kind of goes and gets in those defensive players' heads, stuff like that. You got anything on the big 3?
Yep, that's what I was going to say. That's the first thing that popped into my head. His ability to get inside the defense's head and frustrate them.
Yeah.
You gotta
he's a huge target. He could throw the rock too. When he was in college, he was kind of like a trick play magician. He's just one of those guys that could play anywhere on the field and be efficient, knows his role. He won't get a handful of targets. I think he had just under 50 last year, but very efficient on those. Security blanket, huge target, great across the middle. So, yeah. Niners got Ricky Pearsall, who's on NFI right now, but is supposed to be coming off soon. Jacob Cowing, Ronnie Bell, Chris Conley, Danny Gray, former third-round pick, Trent Taylor, who the Niners drafted, went to a couple teams. I think Bengals. Did he go to Miami? I don't know where else he went. And then also another guy I want to talk about really quick, or just mention, Tariq Owens, Terrell Owens' son. He's at the bottom of the depth chart. Not really sure if he has a shot, but it's really cool to see him out there working with his dad and stuff.
For sure. No, that's cool. And it'll be interesting to see if Chris Conley develops any type of role.
He was kind of a menace in the postseason, wasn't he? It's just like stepped up out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, all right, this guy can do it, man.
He's a vet, though. He's been around a while.
Yeah, and he's one of those hard-nosed guys that earns what he gets. And I don't know, like in relief, I think he could be one of those guys that gets one of those final roster spots. And I would be extremely happy if they did, because he's just tremendous depth. Okay, moving over to the tight end, we got George Kittle, and Niners signed Logan Thomas, undrafted free agent Mason Riney, Cameron Latu. You got anything on this group?
Logan Thomas is a good signing, at the backup to Kittle. Logan Thomas is pretty solid for years.
He had like 77 targets last year or something like that. I don't know why that's popped in my head. But he was really up there, man. Like if you play fantasy football, Logan Thomas was sneaky last year. Maybe he gets some red zone targets, maybe some in between the 40s work, kind of that midseason time when, George Kittle got over 100 targets, as he should. But having a guy like Logan Thomas who's athletic, obviously I don't think he's on the same skill level. Like he's not going to go out there and do those dirty blocks while, you see George Kittle laughing while he's putting guys in the dirt. Like he has more fun like hitting people at the line of scrimmage than he does catching touchdowns. So I don't think Logan Thomas is going to do that. But Logan Thomas he's pretty good in the pass game. So just another kind of depth piece there to add to. You got to worry about CMC. You got to worry about Deebo Samuel. You got to worry about Brandon Ayuk. You got to worry about Jawan Jennings. At some point, you're probably going to forget about Logan Thomas if he's in there. So nice to see that. We'll brush over the offensive line here pretty quickly. Go ahead.
I think he'll be fine. They need him in. Hello?
Yeah, you're breaking up pretty bad. Hold on. Let me see what the timestamp is on this, and I'll just cut it out, and then I'll read it. Okay. 22, we'll go 22:30. Hold on one second. 22:30 to – all right, hold on one second. Okay. We'll go to 23:20. Give me 1 second, and we'll just start over at the tight ends, all right? Okay. In 5 seconds. All right, so we're going to move on to the tight end position here. George Kittle, the Niners signed Logan Thomas out of Washington. He was there for a couple of years. Braden Willis, Cameron Latu, and undrafted free agent Mason Riney. You got anything on this group?
Dude, can we cut like that whole segment?
You wanted to do like the whole thing over again?
No, like the whole tight end segment.
Yeah.
Because, these people got me distracted.
Okay. No, you're good. Okay, 22:30 we'll start at 24:20.
All right. 1 second.
Yeah. Stay there. Okay, I'm almost done. Milk is in the bedroom. Remember? Go in the bed and get milk. Owen's got it. Okay. I'll be in there in like 5 minutes. I promise.
All right, my bad.
Thank you, Mary Berries. I love you. Thanks all. Okay, we'll start at 25-15. So we'll go ahead and move on to the tight end position. The Niners have George Kittle, Logan Thomas, Braden Willis, Cameron Latu, and Mason P-Line. Eric Saubert was also signed. What do you think about this tight end?
It's solid. George Kittle, we all know. Solid. Logan Thomas is going to be a really good backup when they need him too.
Yeah, he had 77 targets last year. George Kittle's got over 100 targets last year as well. We already know what Kittle can do blocking-wise, catching-wise. Logan Thomas is sneaky. Niners have a lot of weapons. That dude's got hands. He might be one of those third-down guys in between the 40s, maybe a red zone. Vulture touchdown or 5, hopefully. Maybe not 5. That's a little overzealous. But, the one time he does get it, man, I'm going to go bananas.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to the line here. I guess we'll just go lineman overall. Colton McKivitz, John Feliciano, Jake Brendel at center, Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore, Spencer Burford, who's injured, Dominic Pooney, drafted him, Brandon Parker, Drake Nugent, undrafted, and Jarrett Kingston in the 6th round. You got anything on these guys?
Jake Brendel and Feliciano are pretty locked in my opinion. Aaron Banks has been here a couple years. Not bad.
The Niners traded back up to get him in a draft, correct?
Yeah.
A couple years back. Yeah, he was one of those.
Pooney's going to be the interesting one to me. I hope that guy comes out and performs.
We need him to big time. He's got to come in because the Niners already are hitting injuries and stuff. Feliciano's coming off the injury, I believe, correct? Yeah. In the Super Bowl that had Spencer Burford come in. Burford's good in relief. He did start as a rookie, so the Niners are not afraid to throw a rookie out there. And what better way to do so than to get him out there as early as possible and get him learning, right?
Yeah,
for sure. I think the main thing about this line is just versatility and having a handful of guys who can play multiple positions and just kind of seeing where they fit in and starting to build camaraderie. But that, once again, begins with Trent Williams, him signing, getting out there and setting the tone for this line. And hopefully the Niners can get it done sooner than later.
For sure.
All right. You got anything else on this offense that you want to talk about before we slide over to the defensive side?
Nope, I think that covers it.
All right, cool beans. Well, we'll start with Thick, Nick, Bosa Bear. On the edge, we got Gross Matos, who was signed from Carolina. Robert Beal Jr. on the edge as well. Leonard Floyd was signed from Buffalo. Drake Jackson, who is injured currently. Austin Bryant. You got anything on these guys? Obviously, Nick Bosa's nasty. We know him.
Nasty. I like Javon Hargrave this year. I think he's going to come out and tear it up.
Yeah, the Niners actually did a lot of work signing guys at the defensive tackle position. They did, the whole Buckner thing. We won't even get into that. And getting Kinlaw. Now Kinlaw's gone. Solomon Thomas as well, just because he went to college with John Lynch. They got him. Now he's gone. So the Niners traded a 7th-round pick and got Malik Collins. And then Jordan Elliott, who just annihilated the Niners in that Cleveland game last year, saw him, and the Niners said, we got to have that guy. So those guys are nice rotational depth as well. If you are in fantasy football, true position league, I'm an IDP guy myself. So if you can get Malik Collins, I think he's going to be primed up for a good year. Also hearing great things about Gross Matos. He was kind of drafted to be, I don't know, not like the main guy in Carolina. They had Burns for a while, then he left. But he's got an opportunity just to come out in bunches, stay fresh, keep that line fresh. You got anything else on this defensive line?
What do you think of Leonard Floyd?
I think Leonard Floyd could have 9 sacks, man. I think anyone outside of Bosa is going to be primed. Floyd's been really efficient, really good his entire career. And he's kind of in that position to where, with the Bills, I think he was looking to get past that hump and get into the Super Bowl Well, he went from one side of that to the other. But the crazy thing is that he's still going to end up having to go through the Chiefs probably. So I think he's going to be hungry. I think he's going to be ready to go, man. I really, really like that addition, especially with the way our defense is set up. I don't think he's going to be forced to be out there all of the time, but I think the way that he's going to be utilized, he's going to stay fresh, he's going to stay good, and he's going to put out maybe some of his best football he's done yet.
I agree. He's a solid pickup, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think the biggest unknown, aside from Gross Matos, is probably going to be Drake Jackson. This might be his final huzzah once he gets back to full health. Former second-round pick. I think push is coming to shove, and I think the door of opportunity is not closed yet. There's still a little bit of light there, but I think if he doesn't do enough this year, then the Niners might be moving on. What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to this. Go ahead.
Time's running out on that one.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I had high hopes for him, man. I thought he was going to do really well. Great bend, good stuff, but he just can't really put it together at the NFL level, and the injury is not helping. So moving on to the linebacker position, we got Devondre Campbell from Green Bay coming over, like we said earlier, All-Pro 2 years ago. Dre Greenlaw's on the pup. Fred Warner is just arguably the best linebacker in football, so we don't really talk about him too much. He's nasty. Dude looks like a solid football player, is faster than a lot of wide receivers on the field. You know what I mean? He's just extremely athletic. You got anything on those starters?
Man, I love them.
Yeah, do you think Campbell steps up?
Huh?
Do you think Campbell can step up to the plate and kind of help lead this front seven with Warner?
Yeah, I think he can be good enough. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of guys kind of chomping at the bit to get a shot while Greenlaw is out. Yeah. Ezekiel Kerner, D. Winters, Curtis Robinson, Tatum Bethune, Flanagan Fowles, Jalen Graham. Not a lot of big-time names, but if you've watched the Niners, you've seen how these guys can be efficient. Obviously, only D. Winters and Robinson last year, kind of lighting it up in preseason, getting their special team off, stuff like that. So what do you think about the depth there?
Man, with all the D. Winters talk, he kind of has me excited. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, out of TCU, right?
I'm waiting for that breakout.
Yeah, it would be nice, dude. I think he's one of those guys that's there in the books, learning the system, willing to play special teams, willing to get dirty. Put him in there. I'm really excited. He's one of the guys that I'm going to be watching underneath a microscope during preseason, man, and just kind of see how far he's come since out of college, first year, and now see if he can kind of land on the table. Not a huge opportunity, but enough to show what he's got up until Greenlaw comes back in a room full of sharks, I think, that are just swimming looking for that opportunity once they see blood.
Yeah, it's unfortunate about Greenlaw, but they're going to be fine until he comes back.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I believe so as well. I think getting Campbell was an amazing move. Maybe not a guy that you want to rely on all season at this point in his career, but if you needed to, it'd be fine. But the Niners have a lot of young depth that can go out and help him, give him relief, things like that. Also, when you're standing next to Fred Warner, it's really hard to look bad, right? It's just because he's so versatile. He does so many things. Okay, moving on to the cornerback position. Savarius Ward, Ambry Thomas, Darrell Luther Jr., Lenore, Samuel Womack, who I really like that guy. He's gritty.
Yeah.
Rob Yassin was signed out of Baltimore. He's kind of been a rolling stone. What do you think about this cornerback group?
I like it, Charvarius Ward, very, very solid. Diamador Lenore has also been solid.
Mm-hmm. Isaac Yadam, and then Renardo Green as well.
Yeah, for sure. Ambry Thomas needs to step up, though. I'm not going to lie.
Dude, okay, so the thing about Thomas is he didn't really get a shot. He was not doing amazing, and then he gets in, and what was 2 years ago in the championship game against the Rams and shut them down, ended, pretty much called game, kind of like Jair Brown did as well in a game. And then just didn't really find his footing, still hasn't. I think he might be another guy that's kind of like the door's closing. It's not there yet, but with the Niners taking a corner in the second round, it's like, look, man, here's what we're doing. I think Lenore's in a contract year as well. So I'm not really sure if Lenore is going to be the nickel guy or the slot guy, or if he's going to be playing outside, or where Green's going to be at. But I feel like with Ward, Green, and the rookie. I think the Niners are in good shape. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Hopefully Rocky Sin can bring some of that bully ball mentality over. I feel like that's kind of like his specialty, getting in people's ears and stuff like that. So him and Green will be out there battling guys and stuff like that. I hope Rocky Sin makes the team. I really liked him coming out of college. Haven't really studied him too much since he came out of college, so it'll be nice to see him get out there during preseason. I think he'll get a lot up as well. Anything else in the corners before we move over to safety?
Nope. That's it.
Sweet. Safety right now, I'm seeing Hufanga, Mustafa, the rookie in the 4th round, George Odom, former Indianapolis guy, but special teams guru, stud. He kind of leads like a charge there. And then Jair Brown as well. The Niners do have Taylor Hawkins, Eric Harris, and Jalen Mahoney, who's an undrafted free agent. A lot of depth there, but I think all eyes right now are on Brown and Mustafa, the 2nd-year and 1-year guy. What are your thoughts there?
I've liked Jair Brown ever since he was drafted, man. I've been really waiting for him to just pop, and I think this might be the year he does it.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot of opportunity this year. He's going to be starting, I think, the entire time. When they drafted him, I looked over at my wife, and I was like, man, the Niners are going to have a really good draft. And then immediately afterwards, they drafted a kicker. I was like, dude. I was just kidding. I love Jake Moody, man. I wore his jersey over to Canton, Ohio at the Fantasy Football Expo. People were all mad at me because I'm wearing a Michigan jersey walking around Ohio. They're like, dude, what are you doing? You're insane. Jake Moody's the man. So, but going back to these safeties, Jair Brown is a guy who can do both, like we talked about a little bit earlier. He play high, he play low. Brock Purdy had a pass that he sailed. I don't know if it was over Deebo Samuel. I think Jair Brown got after it, got to it. I'm not sure if he's better in coverage than Hufanga. I'd have to see kind of how he has come to muster this year. But I think over time he will end up being better than Hufanga in coverage. I don't really think that was ever Hufanga's strong suit. I think he can do it if he's asked to. But it's kind of looking like the Niners are going in the direction of we want to have 2 safeties who can play both, confuse the offense, put themselves in a position to make plays and shut it down. Hufanga is in a contract year, as previously stated. So I think the Niners are definitely stacked this year, and they're in good shape with Hufanga being out. And then going forward, they do have potential starter in Mustafa as well. Do you have anything else on this defense or anything like that?
No, I mean, Hufanga, he's a ball hawk. He just goes wherever the ball is.
He's a gamer.
Gonna hurt my, but, Yeah.
Okay, so just to shout him out, Taylor Peppers, a long snapper, Jake Moody, future Hall of Fame kicker. No kidding. Hopefully, if you take a kicker in the 3rd round, he better be right. He had a great year last year, aside from the Browns game. Was knocking stuff out in the Super Bowl. So hopefully that deep stretch and that heartache in the middle of the season last year taught him a thing or two. He comes out strong this year. I think the sky's the limit for him. Mitch Winowski. Mitch was – oh, my God. Can you say his last name, bro? I can never say his last name.
Mitch Wishnowski.
Thank you. I'm horrible.
I believe it.
Yeah, I think he just had a kid too, so congratulations to him. Dead-eye punter, good to go. I think that our special teams are really good going forward. I think they're going to be good this year. Want to talk about the kick return game really quick before we wrap this thing up. Ronnie Bell, Trent Taylor, what are you thinking here? You think they use a rookie maybe? Or do you think they're just trying to figure out who can catch and get the most yards and go with that?
I mean, probably Jordan Mason kick returning, and then I would say probably Trent Taylor punt returning to start the year.
Yeah, that would be nice. They brought back TT. That'd be cool. Jordan Mason would be nice. Get him some time, keep him on the roster just in case, I think he's going to be battling with Elijah Mitchell for that number 2 running back spot. CMC's kind of talking him up as well, so that'd be cool. Ronnie Bell has had some issues bringing the ball in on punts and returns in camp. Trent Taylor's done it before. We know he can do it. I think if no one else shapes out and really jumps out there and takes the job, I think it's going to be Trent Taylor's for that. I think it's Bell's to lose. And I think that if I so with Pearsall will be, I think, returning kicks if IU comes back. If not, I don't think they'll be relying on Pearsall to return kicks. I don't think that would be the smart thing to do. So Yeah. Do you got any other thoughts on those guys?
I agree, man. Ronnie Bell, he did make me a little nervous last year.
A little bit, right? It's nervous whenever you got a rookie taking back stuff anyways. So we'll see how much him and the other guys have grown. Hopefully, I mean, the Niners have been looking for a kick returner for years, it seems like,
Yeah.
dude. So hopefully they can get that thing figured out because it's just, I mean, when I think kick returner, I'm thinking of like Kyle Williams against the Giants, Dante Pettis, maybe, like, dude, the boulevard of broken dreams and players.
Take
So,
us back.
yeah, that's like the non-flawless part of our special teams, but hopefully going forward, the Niners can figure that out. All right.
Yeah.
Moving into our final remarks, you got anything you want to get out there about the Niners? You got any predictions about the Niners? Stories about the Niners? Anything at all before we wrap it up?
I think it's going to be another good season. Legit chance to win the Super Bowl, obviously. But I think the road runs through Kansas City again. Yeah,
100%. Kansas City or maybe even Baltimore. They got a new offensive coordinator over there, Lamar Jackson. They got Derrick Henry as well. Okay, so I'll ask you one question before we dip out here. What team in the NFC are you the most worried about competing with San Francisco?
Man.
I think it comes down to two personally. I think it's going to be the Eagles or it's going to be the Lions. I personally am more concerned with the Lions. I think they have more depth. They're younger. Quarterback's been there before. Nothing against Hurts. I think he's very agile. He's athletic. He can definitely sling the rock. But I think when it comes down to fundamentals and basics, I think that the Lions are better coached, and I think that they have a better shot. The Niners they were down pretty big to them, right? And they ended up coming back. That crazy Brandon Ayuk tip catch kind of changed the momentum there, and the Niners came back and ended up winning that game. So what do you think,
Sure.
Eagles or Lions?
Eagles, probably, because the thing is they really struggled the second half of the season last year, and they have the talent. If they figure it out, they're going to be a force all year, man.
Yeah, they have a really, really high potential to have a very good front seven. They got Gardner Johnson back. They got Devin White is now playing linebacker for them. They do have, I think, Zach Bond taking LB2 snaps there aside him. But they also have guys like Ben Van Sumeren and a couple other dudes. Who's that? Who's the guy they drafted out of Georgia? I'm blanking on his name right now. I can't remember. He was supposed to be a starter, but he's not. I don't know. He's kind of iffy up in the air right now. They do have really good edge guys as well. So they have a good basis there. It's just, is it the coaching or is it the actual players? What did happen in that second half of the season? They signed Saquon Barkley, so they're making moves, man. They're kind of going all in here. It's not.
I will say this, though. We'll see what happens with the tush push now that Kelsey's not there.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. I don't really know if it's going to be as effective, but with Saquon Barkley, do they have to do the tush push anymore? Right.
Yeah, maybe.
So that's just another guy you got to look out for. They got the Slim Reaper dude and Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, obviously. Titans definitely dropped the bag on that one and ended up drafting Treylon Burks, who's now your special teams gunner. Dude, that sucks. Mighty fall for that guy. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for our first episode of the 49ers Uncovered. Like I said, my name is Mase Riney. You can find me on Twitter at CaliKing49er17. Chris, let everyone know where they can find you at, bro.
At Chris Fantasy FF on Twitter.
Yep. Catch us on Twitter, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. We're out.